Welcome, my friends. I'm Teddy Ninja, here with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Brad, otherwise known as Bradsifer.
And we can't stop snapping. This is Can't Stop Snapping, episode 69. It's a very nice summer intro here. Brad, how's summer treating you?
It's fucking hot. It's hot. Like, okay, so I live in Florida. I'm like in the Tampa area.
Ooh,
and so I started a new job with the county, the county that I reside in. I had to do what's called a ride-along today because there's people that go around the county and like check on certain things, people's homes and stuff, and I have to be aware of what that is in order to do my job. So I did a ride-along, and it's just hot. It's hot.
Yes.
It was from 8 a.m. to noon, which isn't even the hottest part of the day.
Right.
And I'm just like, I want to die. It's not fun being in this state. It is simultaneously the worst state to live in for multitude of reasons, while also being a pretty cool state to live in for other. But the scales aren't as balanced anymore.
Extremes. Okay, so I have this. Do you agree with this? Florida is the only state that is geographically in the south that actually you have to go north in the state and it becomes more southern.
Correct. Yeah. Once you get into the Panhandle area, like along like Tallahassee and stuff like that. Yeah. Now there's a difference though. So
sure.
In Central Florida, when you have Tampa, right, and then you kind of go inland. So there's two things. It's either you go more north or more inland. The closer you are to the water, it gets more blue, right? And then it gets more red and country, like in the center. And so because for example, where I live. 15 years ago, when we first originally moved in this location, everything around this area was just cows and like just random farms and shit.
Yeah.
And now there's a huge outlet mall, like where nice. I remember driving past this area and just being like cow, and now it's just like all these different like restaurants, shops, and stuff like that. The traffic is miserable and it's weird, but it's still very much like the people are pretty like it's not like a southern twang thing, right? They're not talking like a southerner, but they still have that the political leanings and the overall like that southern hospitality a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, but Florida's weird. It's the weirdest state. It's like I said, it's the worst state. It's the best state. It's everything. It's
Florida man headlines.
Exactly.
The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
Have you ever done that? The like find your own headline where you type in Florida man and then put in your birthday?
I have actually not. Okay, we'll do that and we'll have it to share for the next episode. How about we do that? That sounds like a great way to be able to give us a episode title. So while you're doing the ride along, you have a chance to play with any of the hot new snap changes.
Yeah.
Fresh off the press, we had a banger OTA. I think, as far as OTAs goes, these were some of the most dramatic changes. Like, they were taking swings here, right?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Are you a bad news first kind of guy or good news first kind of guy?
Oh, do you think there's bad news involved in this OTA?
I think there's some really bad news to a large portion of the player base.
Okay, well, give me the veggies
Dr.
first.
Doom. Did you love playing Dr. Doom? Now you love playing Dr. Doom. 2 points less. Doombots down to 4 power. I was actually getting a little sick of Doom. Where do you fall on your opinion of the card? Were you getting sick of him?
I wouldn't necessarily get sick of him. It's more so one of those things where it's like it felt a little not tedious, but going through the motions with Snap in the sense of every single game looking into at turn 6, I always have to account for Doom.
Yes,
and like
and
it
became very predictable.
Yeah, I think that's fine that you should account for it, right? But here's the thing. I don't account for Living Tribunal, for example. I never have that thought in my head of like, well, what if? It's just like, yeah, they're probably going to play Doom. They could maybe, what if they do Magneto here? What can they pull there? That kind of thing. Yeah. But I don't think this change to make the Doom bots from 5 to 4, so it basically goes effectively from a 6-15 to a 6-13. Yeah. I don't think this change is necessarily leaning towards power level. The reason Doom was so good in his, let me rephrase. I think it's because, as Glenn said, far and away the most played 6-drop, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean he's by far the best 6-drop in terms of pure raw power. It's because he is the best 6-drop in the sense that he doesn't need to be in a specific deck. Sure, a lockdown deck, like the Haiva lockdown, for example, or even the Lockjaw version. there is a little synergy there, right? Where you're going to reap the benefits of that card. But otherwise, if you have the slot in the top end, just to be flexible, Doom's very good because it's just a nice catch-all card.
Yeah, he's so flexible, getting into locations that are locked down otherwise. The real loser here are the decks that were trying to get the reactivations with Odin, but those are kind of legacy ramp lists at this point because I feel like ramp has mostly gone into Black Panther Zola right now.
I think they still do like the Odin thing and stuff, and I think they still play Doom just because it is still a good card. Right. And let me make sure I mention this first. This is not going to take the play percentage of Doom to skyrocket level down into the bottom, right? He's still going to be
he's not
one
murdered
of the best.
by any sense.
No, of course. He's still going to be a good card, and you're probably going to have games where you're like, damn, if it was the old Doom, I would have won, those kind of things. But that's a good thing, right? We don't want it's like the Arrow problem before she was changed. She was just a card that was a blanketly good card that's like, do I have a 5-drop in this deck? No. Well, Arrow works, and even as a turn 6 play. So that's the problem with Snap in general at the moment. It's the fact that there is no best card just in a layman's terms. It's always what card is the best at just slotting into decks? Because you can't just be like, well, Ronan is such a good card, he should be played more. Well, he needs people around him and cards around him. So people aren't going to play it as much. I'm hoping we get more cards, which it looks like we are based on some Datamines stuff, like Daken. I think that's going to be a blanket good card, for example, that you can just slot into.
Wait to break any deck. I am so excited, dude. I am so excited.
Well, just think about the Sarah control deck playing Killmonger with Nova package. And maybe if you really want to hit it, you can just be throwing one Carnage just to cover your bases, just so you have a failsafe to turn on both Nova and Daken in the sense.
Or those of you don't know, go full the classic Sarah Miracle, strong guys back in there, Blade and Wing, right? Colleen Wing.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 discard, getting doubles, strong guy pops up and he's just smacking you, man. I'm
for those
so
of you
hyped for these.
Who don't know, Daken or Daken, however it's pronounced, is a Datamine 3/4 that spawns a token to your hand, and that token is a sword of something. And
so it's very like Thor. Instead of going to the deck, it goes to hand, and it has a stat line 1/1. And then then
when it's discarded or destroyed, you double his power. And keep in mind, it's just doubling his power outright. So this is not taking consideration Nova buffs, Okoye, Forge, Shuri. There's a lot of ways to make this card really good. And yes, you can go all into a destroy package, discard package, things like that. Or like I'm thinking, you can just slot him into decent Sarah decks and those kind of things.
Because Thor is already on the edge of just being good enough to just play wherever. And
I agree.
I think slots in similarly.
So yeah, I would say I want more cards of that vein, to be more competitive against things like Doctor Doom and stuff like that. Because that's the problem. A lot of the 6-drops are just a little, why would you play kind of thing, like Giganto. Why would you play Giganto?
Yeah, so Giganto actually more total power now, right?
Yeah.
But are you going to play Giganto instead of Doctor Doom? That was going to be my next question is, if Doctor Doom lost, we're going to say half a step, maybe a full step, who's nipping at his heels? Is there a deck that you actually start cutting him and you run something else? I was initially thinking, honestly, if you're just running Doctor Doom to have, you feel like you need a 6 cost, play Chavez? Maybe. It depends on the situation. I think Doctor Doom's still better than Chavez. Do you run She-Hulk? She's also just a very good plug and play, but she loses out hard to wave. And so I don't know, Magneto could be the gap filler.
Magneto's weird because in some matchups, he's a liability. Things like Darkhawk, for example, pulling Darkhawk into that Magneto lane can also, and especially if there's already the multitude of other 4-drops like Rock Slide, and you pull those into that lane, he's a liability. But against things like the High Evil Lockdown deck, where you're pulling Storm and Cyclops out of there,
or you reposition the Lockjaw. Leave them with
exactly.
A wasp
and then
stranded.
Wong and stuff like that too. By the way, I tweeted this earlier. I got my shit stomped in my 3rd game of gold in one of my runs today for Conquest. I was on High Evil Lockjaw, just because I'm it's I think it's the best deck, so I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
And a classic Wong style Gambit Black Panther Zola list, and even had Absorbing Man, Ironheart, White Tiger, wrecked me. Absolutely wrecked me. Wong Gambit is insane against this deck. I don't know if it's the right meta call for everything else, but again, specifically the deck I was playing, I think that's a very good counter because it's you play at most 5 or 6, maybe you finish with 6 cards on board, like a full Lockjaw lane and 1/1, right? Yeah. So, hitting Wong, between 2 and sometimes 6 times in a single go, when you get the real crazy Wong Mystique thing off, you just win. So
basically what we're saying, guys, is we don't want to play Cosmo in our decks, so you should play Cosmo to discourage other people playing Wong. We need the whole meta cycle around so that we can be free to still run High Evo, Lockdown, and Lockjaw.
But going on to the next one for the OTA, there's another deck that I think could have a chance to reposition itself in the meta, and that's a Shuri Sauron deck.
100%, baby.
We have Red Skull, who is
back.
Now no longer is he the what was he a 5/9 technically when he was it was 11 or it was 12
when you took
1.
His ability into account.
Yeah. So he's worse in this sense. He's been buffed to a 5/14, back receiving the +2. So essentially, if you look at the original Red Skull being a 5/15, he's essentially been real long roundabout way been nerfed by 1 power. Is how you look at it. And this is great for that Sauron deck, which I've been playing a little bit today after the OTA, and I like it. I think it's fun.
It's so good.
Ebony Maw is cool. Be able to play that on turn 6. That always feels good.
No, Brad, the cool thing is that the big Evo Hulk is still small compared to a doubled up Red Skull. That's what I'm looking at. When I get Taskmaster over on the copy and they drop Hulk and I still beat them, it's just it's so satisfying. Because a lot of the Evo decks, they play arrogantly and they don't bring Shang-Chi. And so then you just outrun them with these kind of stat lines. And it's great.
Yeah, both the Evo decks, maybe the Lockdown is more likely to play Shang-Chi, but the Lockjaw version, usually the tech cards are going to be between Killmonger, Wave, and some other interaction like that. But usually it's not Shang-Chi. It's something smaller. Actually, it's almost always between Killmonger and Wave, now that I think about it. I prefer Killmonger because I like being able to hit Sunspot and Nebula, and then you can still kind of be okay against the bounce deck a little bit. Wave is obviously way better against the bounce deck. But Shang-Chi doesn't come up as much in those decks. So that might be able to stand toe-to-toe against a big old Hulk.
Yep. It feels amazing, and I love my boy Red Skull. Honestly, if you're dropping Doctor Doom like you were running Doctor Doom just because you thought you had to, playing Red Skull 0 is great. Also, honestly, playing Black Bolt Stature still pretty good. But then you have to squeeze in the 2-card combo instead of the 1-card. So it changes your deck building around a little bit, but you could consider, instead of just the 1/6 cost that you feel like you have to have a 6 cost, you don't. You could run some of these 5 and then a 1 with it that package a lot of points together.
People need to experiment more with little engines in decks, I think. I love the Black Bolt Stature engine. I love the little Miles Morales with Polaris and Jeff kind of thing. I think that's a very valuable asset to have in your deck in Marvel Snap. And people need to experiment with more little niche things like that, because you never know what you might stumble into.
All right, Brad. So we're deviating from the actual OTA to the wish list OTA. What if Heimdall came down to a 5 cost? So you could play Heimdall plus Miles in a move deck. He would be less power, of course, but I just think it would feel so much better.
Making a 5/7?
Yeah, 5/7, 5/6, whatever you felt like the stat line needed to be, just so that you have that flexibility of him plus Miles. He moves everything. He could move things early, and then you can still come in with a 6 cost afterward. Man.
Either that or they introduce a card that just does the same thing Heimdall does, but to the right.
Yes, Heimdall's younger brother, Scheimdall. He goes to the left.
What character would you think that could be? Because Heimdall's flavor is he's the keeper of the Bifrost, and he's the that kind of thing. So it makes sense the Rainbow Bridge.
What was the guy's name that took over running the bridge for Hela when she rules Asgard, and he's kind of a doofus.
Oh, and he's in The Boys. Oh,
yes.
My God.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
He took on like a funky name for himself also.
Yeah. Don't you remember? I'm Scourge.
He had the girls over and was showing them the Bifrost controls.
Because he had the two M60s.
He had the machine guns from Texas.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But isn't that weird how Heimdall? I mean, it's nice flavor, but the Bifrost moves everything to the right, but Heimdall moves everything to the left, right?
Yeah.
So I would say maybe we just get we need another version of Thor, right? Because look, we get all the other Spider-Men, and I would like the idea of having like, even though it's technically the same person, like same character, it's a different timeline.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Thor, but he's the one with Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker's ability to summon the Bifrost.
Sure. Yeah.
And what happens is it does like a magic type of thing where it changes its location to the Bifrost and instantaneously activates the Bifrost.
Oh, baby.
So it goes to the right.
What a move. What a move. Move decks would rejoice. Another mass move would just go.
And like could you
be mass hysteria.
Like imagine if he was like a 5, like he was the 5 cost, right?
Yeah.
So you play him on 5
to the right. Move back
and then
to the
Heimdall's
left.
let's come back.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the Vulture
Chaos.
going up and like Dagger and Craven. Oh, that would be sick.
It'd be nuts.
Ugh.
If only move could be a little bit stronger. I mean, I like what they did with the spider cards, but I'm still not seeing move as a consolidated archetype find any kind of purchase so far.
Right now,
and unfortunately, the rest
of
these OTAs aren't going to help them out either. The season of the Move and season of the Spider-Verse is delivering a lot of love for some other pieces. So we've got Nimrod. This one, I'm scared because you already brought up Daken. 2 months from now, with Daken and X-23, which is the data mine for people, is coming out as a 1/2, regenerates when discarded or destroyed, and gives +1 energy on the next turn. It's regenerating additional energy source for destruction. I am terrified of so Nimrod, right, he got 1 point added. I'm terrified for the idea of being able to play either Nimrod as a cheat him out on turn 4 and then be able to combo additionally with him, because when he gets multiple destructions, he can really get out of hand. And he can be terrifying because you can't destroy him. If he's getting buffs and you hit him with Shang-Chi, he just comes back stronger. Or if destruction is able to get the null down sooner as well. The developers say that they test their cards in an environment that includes like cards several releases out. So I guess they want this, or they feel like this is still fine. I'm really happy for this because I felt like Nimrod never quite found a purchase. Do you see destruction without? So I'm excited for them in the future, right? Once we get X-23, Daken, and Lady Deathstrike. Do you see this Nimrod being able to find purchase now?
I think there's something to a Nimrod like a Shuri package just in a destroy deck. Now, I don't think it's necessarily correct to go into it thinking I'm going to do like a all in on Nimrod, where you're going like Shuri, Destroyer, and like trying to do as many things as you can to like really play off of that. I think it's something as simple as just going your typical like Nova, Killmonger, all your destroy package stuff. So like Venom, Carnage, Deathlock, all these cards, right? And then just sneak in a Shuri package with Nimrod, and that's it. Meanwhile, having your top end be Null and like Death. I think that on its own right there can be pretty successful. I think with cards like Nimrod, it's dangerous to go into that all in unless you get something that really goes into your rules of 3 to make it much better. Because typically you want 3 enablers for a type of archetype, right? The reason like Shuri was so good before is because you have Shuri, you have Red Skull, you have Taskmaster, you have She-Hulk. Those were like and like even Arrow was a part of that too. And Destroy is in the same way. It has 3 enablers in the sense of Venom, Carnage, and Deathlock. You have flexibility there. But Nimrod is different because Nimrod has Shuri and I guess Destroyer, and you could consider the other ones enablers, but they're a little bit clunky in terms of how you go about it. Yeah. You can't go all in because they do their own thing outside of Nimrod and just in just the broader Destroy sense. So yeah, I think that is the idea to go from here. And I think it'd be good. I really do.
Yeah, I'm struggling with where it finds the best purchase. You're torn so many different directions because it's the most fleshed out archetype that we have in the game. I think it has even more components than discard right now, and I think that you can lean into like Nimrod plus Deadpool because getting buffs on a card that you're destroying, they both are doing the same thing just at very different price points, and so you find one or the other and you go all in on one or the other, or you get to play Nimrod alongside something like the Zola and the game plan of just Big Venom Zola. And so you have like those two, which can do similar things. I mean, if you pop Zola onto Nimrod, you're getting 12 projected out on either side. That's kind of, that's going
And
nuts.
that's not even considering if you want to go for the 50-50 on Shuri, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so then you could go to, instead of Black Panther, what if we do Wong? Wong,
Shuri.
No, I mean, it's such a stack. Like, if you get the perfect draw of being able to go Wong, Shuri, Nimrod, Destroyer.
You'd have to have ramp
crazy.
In there. Like, it'd have to be
you have Zabu.
like Psylocke
You have
or
Zabu to get the Wong down early. I'm just... Man. Or you could have Psylocke in there as well. I think it should be so funny, but it's so draw dependent. I don't think that's what you actually want to do. But then again, all the cards that I just mentioned work well with the version of Galactus right now.
Yep.
So I think that Nimrod is like he's down to clown on people. If you get it together, they're not going to know what hit them. But it's really hard to see what actually emerges as the best version. And I'm honestly just waiting for X23. And then I'm calling this meta.
I think X23 is going to help a lot because my biggest issue with a lot of these cards like Nimrod and Null in a traditional destroy deck is because while they can be powerful in their own right, they present this really big awkwardness of where do you play them, like how do you like get them out because of their costs. For example, like what's one of the best ways to play Null is in a Deadpool deck because you're continuing destroying Deadpool and over again.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: when it comes around to turn 6, I want to play my Deadpool too.
Yeah.
Because to get the most value, I want to kill him on 5 and get him up to like 16 or something like that, right? Or even just like
the more
8.
times he doubles, it's exponential scaling, and so then you're passing out on a turn. You're just letting Deadpool sit for turn 5, or you're holding him in hand, and then the Null is sitting there.
Yeah, so like X23 can help do that. Like where if you even just having that one extra energy on turn 6 where I can simply go Null Deadpool in 2 lanes, that's very good. And we're not even considering where Death is in this scenario either.
Yeah.
So like that's where my issue is with Destroy. It's just that it's a little clunky sometimes, just a teeny bit. So we'll see if X23 changes that and archetype on its head.
Oh, yeah. All right. Final one. And this one of the most dramatic, Nick Fury. He was a Battle Pass card and immediately forgotten at the 5/7 stat line. Now been brought down to a 4/5.
Yep.
Zabu Synergy, same ability, adding 3 random 6-cost cards into your hand. Yes, he can create Agatha. No, it doesn't happen that often. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Furious Dino, I'm calling it. I think he's going to be pretty good, especially looking at Conquest right now, where having the X factor of the opponent doesn't understand what those 6 costs are, and you do, and you have Quinjet. So yes, they're random junk that don't necessarily synergize with you, but they're also discounted by 1. It's a recipe for success, Brad. It's a recipe for success.
We talked about this in the past, like my weird shield deck, right? Where it's like it's Quinjet. It has like pretty much it's all members of like Marvel that have either been a part of Shield in some way or like helped them out. So I have like Lady Sif in there with like the Helicarrier and Ghost Rider and stuff, and like all the randomness of it. Devil Dino and the Collector to get buffs. So that's a very cool way to go about it. Something very simple that I'm actually really enjoying is a few seasons ago during the Shuri meta, I got to Infinite with this Devil Dino Darkhawk deck. And I loved playing those two together because it gave you a way to play Mystique, where normally if you're in one or the other, Mystique's awkward because if you don't have your Darkhawk or your Dino in that sense, she's not very good. But because you're doing both, you can pivot if it's going to be a Darkhawk game or a Dino game, and Mystique can copy either one. And sometimes the stars align where you can do all 3, right? And the nice thing is, one of your best turn 6s was after playing Dino, you go Mystique into Agent Coulson because get a copy, add 2 cards to hand, buff your guys. That's pretty nice. Now, if you have Zabu down, you have the option to go Mystique into Nick Fury on turn 6.
Which is insane.
Very, very good. Very strong. So something as simple as that, I'm very interested in trying. I've played it a little bit here and there on the ladder. I haven't taken it into Conquest yet. I just want to see if that's how the list should be. If I should still be playing like White Queen and stuff. I'm trying to find the right mixture of stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, because I cut Doctor Doom from that list, funnily enough, to put in Nick Fury to just try it. Like, it's a lower curve. Like, you top out a Devil Dino, and I'm seeing how that is. And
which is fine because he is giving you 6 costs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been fine for the most part. I'm just trying to see if it's the way you want to go. One thing I do want to mention real quick is we did get confirmation from Glenn that this change did coincide on purpose with the release of the Secret Invasion, the new show on Disney Plus, starring, of course, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. And I saw someone already, another creator, I can't remember who it was, retweeted it being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they actually like buffed him for the show." I'm like, no. That, for clarification, that's not what Glenn said. The buff has been planned for a while. They just made sure to time it, the release of the buff, with the show. That is it. So do not sit there and think that they're buffing cards to make them more accessible for people because of the show. It's not. It's just they want to be able to line it up. Same thing with like season pass cards and like seasons in general.
More thematic, exactly. And I mean, everybody knows he was a low performer. They're not like they're going to nerf him as soon as the show is over. And it's like, suckers. Are you watching the show? I am not. I have not seen the pilot yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I know there's only one episode right now.
Yeah.
So I usually wait on these because I'm not a fan of the weekly release thing because I just want to kind of binge it or like watch it in my own time or have the option to binge through it in all a few nights in general. That's how that's what I did with Loki. So.
Yeah. Wife and I try and target resubscribing to Disney Plus when there's like a Marvel and a Star Wars. So we're waiting for Ahsoka and then we could do some very belated TV show reviews, Brad.
Honestly, I'm cool with that. I mean, that's literally my degree is film, so I can talk about cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm super excited with this Nick Fury change. I think he's going to see a lot more play. And shout out to that Hawk Dino deck being a great piece in Conquest right now because the Hawk and the Rocks, specifically the Rocks, are a soft counter to all the Lockjaw shenanigans that are going on right now. When Lockjaw fetches a rock, you snap on him, right? It's just mental warfare there. And then otherwise, it's just a very solid shell to put in. And the X Factor gives you an additional little edge that a lot of other Conquest decks don't have because they end up being very predictable at the end of a Conquest match. For you still have this X Factor. The opponent has no idea what you're about to throw at them. So I think we're going to see a lot more Nick Fury.
Spider Pig until turn 5, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
How have you liked him so far, by the way? How do you like Spider-Ham?
Love it. I think that he's insane. He's a card and a half. Like, I could have...
Do you think he's honestly, too good? The information, at least?
Oh, 100%. I was going to say, I would have been almost sold on a 1/1 on reveal shows you the most expensive card in the opponent's hand.
Right?
Let alone 1/1 shows you the most expensive card and takes that card's ability away.
Yeah, so I mean... I talked about it when I guested on Snap Judgments and stuff. Leading up to Spider-Ham, I was like, please do not show the card. That sounds way too good, and I think it is too good. I don't think they're going to change it. I actually think my hot take is, I think they're going to like what they see from Spider-Ham so much that they're going to be like, okay, Iceman, Baron Mordo, you now show what you hit now. Which
that would be great. I could also see Spider-Ham just become a 2-cost, like straight up 1 cost
yes,
more.
I think that'd actually be fine.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, honestly, like, could you imagine literally just a card that just says, like, reveal opponent's hand, like a 1/0? I'd play that.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely play that.
Their whole hand?
Of the best cards in the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, information is so important in this game. And Howard is underplayed, I think, to some extent. But there is something about seeing your opponent's hand, which is far more valuable than like knowing what your next draw is going to be. Still valuable.
Yes.
A scry is still
really
good,
is.
But it's not a Thoughtseize. And Spider-Ham is the closest thing we have to a Thoughtseize at the moment.
Exactly. Well, especially when you're in like Conquest, where the dimension of being able to bluff your opponent and the prediction level is just going up a lot. Rather than ladder, with just random and whatever hand you have. But yeah, when you can ham out their good card and you hammed it out, and it's like, yeah, snap on them, man, snap on them. He's warping the meta already. It's like discard feels terrible to play. Sarah feels terrible to play because like the pigged out Sarah, the linchpin of the deck's cut out from under it. The APOC gets pigged. Like, well, I can't scale that, so now I'm just suddenly down like 16 points, or like, well, not 8 points. Or if he does get this, if it's the right order, if he gets pigged and then discarded, it's like, well, you just watch it go up in flames right at your fingertips. Get a little burn there. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, he gets better as games go on in Conquest, because let's say you are going against a discard player. In game 1, you play the pig early, hit APOC or even like a Modok. They don't have APOC in their hand yet, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, even if you lose game 1, now you know. You wait until we're coming into turn 5. Try to manipulate your priority and get priority going into turn 5. Pig, let them Modok. It's like old Leech, right? Being able to like time it and leech their hand and they discard it all, which I do miss that. I miss being able to do that. It sucks that you have to wait, but
Yeah,
that's
no, exactly. It's
great
so powerful.
play.
Which we should cover as a separate change to the OTA. Pig has been altered to base stats 0/0. No more Wild Zabu discounting Pig shenanigans. Thank goodness that's gone. Honestly, I thought that was just like a very silly interaction and unimaginable that they had that oversight. They're like, hey, let's release him as a base 4. Didn't test him with Zabu ever. One of the most meta cards in the game. There's no way this could go wrong. I still love the Shadow King interaction of Shadow King being able to reset their pigged card back down to 0. So fear not the Pigfinaut.
Weird.
Yeah.
I understand it, but it is weird. It's a weird interaction. It feels like it's because technically they have to implement into the game that the pig has its own set value as the token itself. But the way that the wording in the card is, it never was its own thing. It's this becoming a pig that has these stats. So there's, in my mind, on one side, there's nothing to revert, but I also get how there's something to revert. You know, it's a weird interaction.
Listen, Shadow King Nation needs everything they can get. They're not doing so hot out here.
He's good in Surfer. I still stand by that. He's pretty good.
No, he is, and he just shuts Bounce up. So Bounce has got nothing on him. And if Shuri pops off with the new Red Skull, he shuts them up too.
Cool.
The only other update that we have is like bookkeeping is Krakoa is gone. They cut that one out. It went the way of the other locations that are being removed for a full rework at an undisclosed future date. I am happy to see this one go. Ego is enough for me.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of like specific turns getting interrupted, especially because it's turn 5. We already have things like Avengers Compound. We have Dream Dimension. We don't need more turn 5 mess up your plays kind of thing, right? Especially because that setup in the turn from turn 5 to turn 6 is just as important as turn 6 itself.
Yeah. I saw one person in chat that had a great idea for Ego, is that each player during an Ego game would be given one reset. They could, on one turn throughout the course, like tap on Ego's face, and it would undo all actions and then do a reshuffle of the randomness. And I was like, that would be great. So like that one time that you have the abysmal, I'm going to sacrifice my card to Death's Domain or something, it's like, all right, that one I take back.
Or
use it early, use it late.
It's like turn 5, you have the perfect card to play on turn 5, like just to curve it out, like Jane Foster or like Devil Dino. It's like, I'm going to play the Zabu and I have no other cards to play. Sorry. And you're like, please, please.
No, the Zabu costs 2, so I don't have extra energy to spend anything else in your hand. You didn't want to play the 5 cost? The 5 cost that everything else synergizes around?
Nope. I don't think I will.
Ego says no. All right, that wraps up OTA. We've got more bangers releasing from Second Dinner, though.
And you're going to have to find that out on the part 2 version of this episode, which is going to be on my channel, and the link is down in the description. And we will see you right over there. So stick around.
Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast hosted and produced by Brad Saffer and Teddy Ninja, originally created by Michael Thurman.